Hello, it's Jennifer. Thanks for stopping by. Today I have a video for you that shares how to get more from your die cuts by adding layering and dimension. Now I have to apologize, I shot this video a very long time ago, several months ago, with an old camera, and it's not the best, but I really didn't want it to go to waste because I thought somebody might like this technique, and I did share it over on Instagram and a lot of people asked about it. So I'm going to show you how to create all this dimension with the balloons that you see up here with some fun glitter paper. I'm also going to share some tips on how to add delicate word die cuts like this one on the bottom. So one of the things I do when I lay out a card and plan it is I take a picture of it with my phone. Instead of drawing a sketch, I just die cut the little pieces or lay out the stamps onto a card and take a picture of it with my cell phone, and then I keep this on hand as I work on the card. So it's kind of like my version of a sketch, and I just think this is super easy to do. I used some Paper Smooch's balloon dies to create these little die cuts. I decided instead of cardstock to use some glitter paper, and I'll actually show you a peek into this glitter paper pad from Die Cuts with View in a little bit. But I went ahead and die cut a bunch of the balloons. I probably won't use them all on the card, but I can set them aside for a future card or make two at once if I wanted to. Now if you look closely at the completed card, you'll see that some of the balloons are set back and some are popped up forward, just to give lots of dimension. I'm going to go ahead and start with those that are set back. So you can see the striped balloon on the bottom, the big one to the left, and the heart one up at the top. So let's go ahead and start with those. I have a piece of white cardstock that's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 to cover the front of a note card, and I have my dies here. So this heart die I'm going to do first. I'm just taping it with some temporary tape face down onto the card where I want that final balloon to be. So I'm just kind of moving those die cuts that I have there as a holding place out of the way. So once I have this one positioned, I'm going to go ahead and add one of my other set back balloons. So I'm taking the large round die here. This again is from Paper Smooches. I'm going to remove this little balloon here, tape it in its place, and I'm just planning it out. These die cuts that I am leaving on here, I will set all those aside. So I'm just taping in place so those 3 set back balloon dies. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this through my die cut machine. I like the Vagabond or the Big Shot. Here I'm using the Big Shot because it's easier to film. And I'm just going to run it through, and you'll see that I have the openings for these balloons that will be set back. And I can save those white die cuts that I have here for a future card if I wanted to. So now that I have my set back balloons, I want to show you the ones that are popped up. And I also decided to give you a look into this paper pad. You can see all these fun patterns. This is like a very subtle, soft shimmer glitter paper. It doesn't rub off. If you don't love glitter but like a little bit of shine, this kind of paper is probably for you. So now I'm just going to temporarily adhere the balloons that I decided I want to have popped up. Later I will go back and pop them in place, but I wanted just to temporarily adhere them just to make sure that I left a spot for them, but I didn't want to adhere them permanently because I wasn't sure if it was going to be the right place or not. I'm kind of still playing around with this as I go along. Okay, so now it's time to put those balloons that are set back and then pop up the balloons that are popped forward. Now for the setback balloons, what I'm going to do is put some of the glitter paper behind those little die cut openings that we've created. So I just tear pieces or cut pieces, it doesn't matter what size and they don't have to be perfect, just big enough to fit behind those die cut windows. So for that top balloon there, I've got some dark gray glitter paper. I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of it. I'm going to hold it behind my opening and then press it onto the card, lining it up. This way I can be sure that that paper is right behind that die cut window. Now you could die cut the balloon and put it in place, but I wanted that if you looked from the side of the card, you could see through and still see that paper. So I'm going to do the same here for this large glitter balloon. I've gone ahead and kind of torn or cut up a piece of light glitter paper, light silver paper here. Just going to glue it right behind that die cut window. It doesn't matter how sloppy it is behind this die cut window because nobody's going to see that because we're going to glue this all in place. And then finally I have some striped glitter paper that I'm going to put behind the bottom die cut window. So I'm just going to take this, got some glue on the back of it, hold it in place just to make sure it's right behind it, and press it right onto my note card. So now I have all the pieces put in the right place, and then I can pop dot my entire panel and have it sit on that paper. Now I decided after I did this, I noticed that my balloons weren't centered and I wanted them to be centered. So what I'm going to do is trim this piece down, and I'm going to also trim this piece down. I took a little over 1/4 of an inch off both, and there we have, they fit perfectly and it's nice and centered too. So now I have this die cut piece that I want to pop up so that there's lots of dimension. I'm using some thick EK Success foam dots. I like that these are super thick, so it will really pop it up. And I got a kick out of myself because watch how I do this. I just take the release paper off and I just throw it out of the screen so you guys don't see it. So you can totally imagine the mess that exists after I stop filming. There's like a complete mess circling my whole work area. So anyways, I'm just going to take off those release papers and take this and pop it onto that piece that has the little glitter scraps on it. And there we have the set back balloons ready to go. So now it's time to pop up the front balloons. So I have them temporarily adhered there, but I do want to pop them up some more just for some more dimension. So I'm putting one layer of thin foam pieces on the places that will sit on the white paper. In the areas that overlap the setback balloons, I'm putting 2 layers of foam adhesive because it needs to be popped up a little bit more. These foam dots are a little bit less expensive and thinner, so I can layer these up if I want to. Now to put this card in the mail, I would just put a little extra postage, or you can put it in a foam envelope, which I like to do, a padded envelope, just to protect my cards. After spending this much time on a card, I like to protect them. So after I've gone through and put all of my little popped up balloons here, you can see I end up with lots of dimension. Some of the balloons are set back, some are popped forward, and it's a great way to give some life to your die cuts. Now for that word die cut on the bottom, you can see it's very intricate. This is a Paper Smooches Celebrate die cut. Now I die cut it from some blue glitter paper. That's from another of the die cuts with the View glitter paper pads. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking the negative space and just taping it temporarily in place where I want the word die cut to be. This is a very intricate die cut with lots of little pieces. You can see the word is kind of broken up. And to make sure I have it arranged exactly how it was intended, I'm just holding that negative space there as a filler or a holding spot for my die cut, which you'll see in a moment. So I'm putting tiny little dots of glossy accents on the back of my die cut, starting out with the CEL. And you could also use matte multi-medium here too if you wanted to. So now I'm going to take my handy dandy tweezers. I love these because they pinch and hold it. And then I'm going to position this right into the negative space. I'll take the negative space off in a moment, but this really helps me to position all the pieces of this delicate die cut to make sure it lines up. If you have any kind of die where after you die cut it, you have a bunch of pieces that you need to arrange back into place, using the negative space to kind of work as a guide is really very helpful. So now I'm adding some glossy accents, just tiny little touches to the back of the rest of the die cut pieces and adding it. You can see how helpful these tweezers that kind of pinch for you are when adding little die cuts like this. I also recommend just doing tiny dots of the adhesive because you don't want this to kind of squirt out and make a mess when you put it onto your card. So now that I have all my die cut pieces in place, I can go ahead and remove the negative space around it. It's better if you wait until you're completely dry so that the word stays behind, but I went ahead and removed it carefully, and you can see that all my die cut pieces are perfectly arranged how they were intended. Okay, now I wanted to show you how to do the strings on these balloons. I thought it added to the dimension of this card. So I'm using some thin black string that I got at a craft store, and I'm going to go ahead and tie it in a knot kind of floating in the air here. So it's kind of like a lasso. And I'm going to lasso the bottom of my balloon and then tie it into a double knot. So I'm just kind of creating a loop, and this is so much easier than trying to tie it on the balloon. Just create a knot kind of floating in air and then lasso it around the bottom of the balloon. So now that I have my string tied to my balloon and it's nice and secure because I did a double knot, I want to tie it to the die cut that we have on the bottom. Now remember, when I put this die cut on, I didn't completely cover the back with adhesive, so I can easily peel up the die cut enough to tuck this string under it. Now, I will admit, I went a little crazy here. Now these balloon strings take some time to put on, but I think it's worth the effort. If you want to skip this, there are 2 things that you could do. You could just draw black lines, or you can just take a string and put a dot of glossy accents at the bottom of the balloon and a dot of glossy accents at the top of the letter, like the L here, and just stretch the string between it, let it dry, and cut it off, and it'll look just as good. I just like the idea of having, this little knot that connects the two, but you could skip it if you wanted to. So I've tucked my string through the loop of the L, and now I'm just going to tie this into a knot, and we'll have our first balloon string done. If you want to, you could put a tiny dot of glossy accents or matte multi-medium on the balloon knots to secure them, but I found that they stay put pretty well and you don't have to worry about it. Nobody's going to be really messing with them. So I'm going to do one more balloon string to show you. I'm creating a little knot or a loop here in the air, and I'm going to go kind of lasso the bottom of my balloon. It's amazing how doing that little lasso tip saves a lot of time and effort. So I've got my string tied to my balloon. Now it's time to pull it down and see where it's going to hook onto my word die cut on the bottom. I'm going to hold up the top of the die cut with my tweezers. It just makes it easier to kind of needle through or string through my string on that loop. I'm going to go ahead and tie it again into a knot. And you can do a double knot if you want to be really secure, that they're really certain that it stays secure. Now what I will do probably after this is put a dot of the glossy accents back under the die cut, just those top parts where I did peel it up, just to make sure that they don't stick up. Now after completing the balloons that are popped up, tying them all together, I decided I wanted strings on the balloons that are set back, but I can't really tie along the bottom of the balloons. This is how you can kind of fake the knot. Just tie like a double or triple knot at the end of your string. And I'm just going to glossy accent this right at the base of the balloon. So it looks like it's tied around it, but it's really not. Nobody will really ever know the difference. Glossy Accents and Multi-Matte Medium are my two favorite super strong liquid adhesives by far. These knots won't come undone once they dry, and they don't take long to dry anyways. So I have another string here where I've tied 3 or 4 knots together on top of each other, and I will stick this at the base of one of the other setback balloons, and it looks like it's tied around it. Now for connecting these strings onto the word die cut on the bottom, I did the same thing. I tied a bunch of knots, just looping them around the die cut, and we have all of our strings connecting the balloons to the die cut below. It took a little bit of time, but I definitely think it's worth the effort just to create a piece that has lots of dimension. So this is a great way to add some fun to any kind of dies that you may have. Now, if you're interested in these products, I always link them below my YouTube description. You could also head over to my blog where I have much more information at jennifermaguireinc.com. If you like this video and you want to see more, please let YouTube know by giving it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you again real soon.